Mighty God, we call on you to bless this council and all who are engaged in the work of local government in our city. Grant that we may all order all things in wisdom, righteousness, and peace to the honor of your name and for the good of all the people who dwell in our city. Amen. Good afternoon, councillors and management and members of the Fourth Estate. As we are all aware, we've just celebrated the occasion of the delivery of 4 new refuse removal vehicles, which is a great celebration, and it ties in perfectly with the theme of what I wanted to speak about to us this afternoon in my opening remarks. As you know, when we came into office in August 2023, the clarion call for many of us was to clean up our city, to clean it up in 2 ways: physically, in terms of the dirt, but also to tackle corruption. And we clearly have a lot of work to do in both areas. I want to, however, focus on the physical aspect this afternoon of cleaning up our city. And I want to start off by congratulating many of the councillors who are present here today. Those of us who are on the councillors group know that many councillors have been engaged in their wards in cleaning up. They've been working with local residents, and I'm very grateful as mayor for the efforts that you've done to demonstrate leadership in that regard. It is important that we as councillors be at the forefront of measures to clean up our city, to change the culture of our city, to demonstrate through our example how things should be done. And so I commend you. I also want to commend management, as I said now to the town clerk and your team, for making the purchase of these refuse removal vehicles a priority, to getting it done. It sends a very important signal to residents that we are serious about cleaning up our city. And I'm delighted that we've got good quality vehicles that will stand the test of time. That is so important. Sometimes we buy vehicles that are second rate and they don't last a long time. And so I'm confident that these vehicles will. The reason I'm speaking on this theme this afternoon is because it is April. And April, in many respects, is our city's most important month. Because at the end of April, we have trade fair. The leadership of our country comes to our city. We usually have foreign guests. We have foreign investors. All the diplomats come to our city. And so it is our opportunity to present our city in the best possible light. And I want to appeal to residents now as well, for residents to join the efforts of management and councillors in tidying up our city over the next few weeks. And I also want to appeal to businesses. Can we imagine a city where every single householder cleaned up outside their own residence, where every single business owner cleaned up outside their own business and in the alleyways behind it? Sometimes rubbish seems overwhelming, but if we all put our shoulder to the wheel, literally every resident, every business, in the course of the next few weeks, we could utterly transform our city. And so that is my appeal to residents and to businesses, to take this serious. And it's not just about cleanliness. As we know in our personal lives, how we present ourselves if we want to enter into business with people is very important. If we appear slovenly or disorganized, we're less likely to get people to do business with us as individuals. And the same applies to a city. If you are fortunate enough to go to a city like Singapore or Shanghai, Beijing, cities like that, you will find that they are absolutely spotless. And it projects those cities in a very positive light. But the starting point is with us as individuals. We can, as a council, there's only so much that we can do. And that's why it's critically important that we have this new collective approach as residents, as businesses, and of course as councillors, as the leadership of this city, and as management to do this. So today is the 2nd of April. I think Trade Fair opens on around about the 24th, 25th of April. We have about 4 weeks. And could we just join this call collectively? I ask our management to focus in particular on the areas where our visitors are going to be driving on. We need to look at the road right from the airport into the city. I know that the airport is beyond our city boundaries, but I think we need to go the extra mile to make sure that from the airport, when foreign dignitaries arrive, that they see a city that stands in marked contrast to other cities in our nation and indeed to other cities throughout Africa. And in that way, we are going to project ourselves in a very positive way. So this might seem a menial thing that I'm speaking about this afternoon, but I think that it is a very important task, and I hope that we will throw ourselves fully into this task over the next few weeks. Those are my comments. Town Clerk, I ask you now to commence the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. The councillors of the City of Bulawayo, esteemed stakeholders, management and staff, and indeed the fourth estate, ladies and gentlemen of the media. The legal question, Your Worship, being confirmation of minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 5th of March 2025, attached as Annexure A, pages A to T. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. May I have a proposer for that? Can I sign?
Sign, Your Worship.
Thank you. Right, we move to item 2. Can we have the Chair of Future Water, please, too?
I move that the report of the Future Water Supplies and Water Action Committee meeting held on the 4th March 2025 as submitted be received and the various recommendations contained therein adopted.
Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Thank you. Seconded. Any debate on that? What item?
Item 5.
5.
Item 5.
Anyone below item 5? Councillor Bloor? What item?
Top 5.
Okay, go ahead. You have the floor.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi, ngumugca wokuqala Nkosi, mina wami ngumbuzo lami labahlali bakobulawayo ukuthi kanti ikomiti leli liza lifta nini i-water shedding schedule leyi epanishi zakhamuzi. Ungabhoda umuzi phakathi komuzi abantu bathwele inkonxa badinga amanzi all over. Kodwa ke abahlali bayakwazi ukuthi khona izulu linile koBulawayo. Umbuzo abawubuzayo ukuthi kanti amadama koBulawayo ayavuza yini, okwenza ukuthi izulu line kangaka baqhubeke bengatholi amanzi. Sithanda ukuthi ikomiti lisichazele kanye lichazele labahlali ukuthi kahle kahle yini inkinga eyenza ukuthi amanzi angafinyeleli ebantwini, i-water shedding schedule ingaliftwa izulu line kangaka. Okwesibili Nkosi, sizavumelana lami ukuthi abahlali sebeluze i-patience ngendaba yamanzi. And can you commit this assure ukuthi after ama-excuse lawa amapipe adubukayo abasoze baphenduke futhi bathi akulamithi yokuklina amanzi, baphenduke futhi amanzi se-evaporatile emadamu, njalo sokumele kuqhubeke futhi 130 hours schedule. So sicela ikomiti isichazisele ngaleyo ndaba. Ngiyabonga Nkosi.
Anyone else on one? What did you? Three. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship.
I want to speak to item 3, where it talks about alternative sources of water, and more specifically on water deliveries, where it speaks to, the report speaks to the situation regards the Bowsers. As at the 20th of February, it was said that the city has a total of 7 Bowsers. But of all the 7 Bowsers, none of those is operational. None of those is running. And I find it unimaginable how a whole city can have non-functional Bowsers. We know what role the Bowsers play in a situation where there has to be a lot of, porting of water, carrying water, to funerals, carrying water to clinics, carrying water to kiosks and other high-lying areas. And when I went further to look at the report, it was indicated that the department is facing a serious challenge of spare parts which are still being procured. We have a serious problem, Your Worship, when it comes to procurement. So my clarion call is to say to anyone who is listening to this council sitting, we have a serious problem with procurement. In fact, it's cross-cutting all departments. There are so many tools of trade, there are so many spare parts that are hampering service delivery. I'm calling upon our systems that are in place. We know PMU does a wonderful job, the Department of Council, but when it goes to PRAS and then it goes to SPOC, Special Procurement Oversight Committee, that's where everything stalls. If we are going to go up to 3 months, 2 months, without spare parts, critical spare parts, that are going to ensure that our Bowsers are running, how are we going to be able to deliver? If you look at it, you find that there are individuals, sole traders or partnerships who are able to, quote what we end up having to hire. And I believe that hiring outside companies is very expensive to council. I think there is need for us to be serious about one on the government side, looking at our systems that enable the local authorities to get the tools of trade without much delay, so that we can be able to deliver efficiency as we have been called upon to deliver efficiency. Thank you.
What item, ma'am?
Item 3.
Thank you.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi. Ngizaqala ngokukhuluma ngohlupho oluhlasela izakhamizi zakoBulawayo. Ngikhangele izakhamizi kakhulu kuwadi engilimeleyo. Sinanzelela ukuthi idolobho njalo ikomiti yakwazi ukuthi asila loba ibhono elilodwa. Singela bhono elilodwa. Singakhangela indlela zokuthi asilawo amabhawuza angasincedisa ukuthi alethe amanzi. Njengoba ukhansele omunye sekubekile ukuthi amabhawuza ethu ahlala efile. Lobe ngalunga abanemisebenzi eqhakathekile ukudlula izakhamizi. SinguBulawayo, izakhamizi zasephumula sezikhale kakhulu. Izulu linile bezingafinyelelwa ngamanzi lisina. Ithemba aliselazo khathesi ukuthi pho njengoba vele izulu lakhona linile kuhluphi water shedding ukuthi afinyelela amanzi. Lizakwenzani ukuthi lathi siwathole njengabanye abantu amanzi? Njalo kulokuxabana okukhona kuzakhamizi okulethwa yi-department ukuthi bayaletha amanzi angafinyeleli zonke izakhamizi. Kube lokungazwanani. Esifisa ukuthi sizakhamuzi sicela ukuthi nxa i-water shedding e-1 week isehlula bebecela ukuthi nxa kungavumi ukuthi lisilethele kanye ngenyanga sonke sithole, hayi ukuthi ivikeli ilodwa kuthola izinto ezimbalwa eziningi zingatholi. Sokusixabanisa sizakhamuzi ngohlupho lwamanzi. Ngiphinde ngikhulume kuma-water kiosk. Nxa ngibala inani elilibhalayo lapho ukuthi silama-water kiosk angu-25, nginanzelela ukuthi sithi siyiwadi sadonethelwa ama-water amalokuzene sesilama-water kiosk esazifakela wona lama-partners ethu ewadini wawulin quarry angaba 4. Kodwa kaliwakhangela ukuthi laloba amabhawuzi ekhona lizosithelela amanzi. Leli lodwa i-water kiosk elasifakela lona alilinanzeleli ukuthi lithelwe amanzi loba amabhawuzi ekhona. Ngakho izakhamizi ziyakhala kakhulu. Zinanzelela ukuthi ziyabona ukuthi izulu lile 2 months limile. Bona bale more than 2 months bengatholi amanzi. Abaselalo ithemba lenkulumo lempendulo esibanika zona zibasuthisi. Ngakho siyananzelela ukuthi sicela ukuthi i-department inanzelele izakhamuzi ngoba izakhamuzi ziyazama ukubhadala ama-rates. Ngakho zilelungelo lokuthi lazo zithole amanzi njengezinye izakhamuzi. Ngiyabonga Nkosi.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi. Mina ngithunyiwe iwadi lapho engivela khona kuwadi lesina. Bakhala babuza ukuthi njobani ukuthi amabhawuza wonke asefile. Amanzi bazawatholaphi? Mina babesithi sizathenga amanzi. Inyanga mayiphela kade sikhuluma kunje. Isithi council phakathi komuzi yavalela abantu amanzi. So sebethethe imali emele bezoyibhadala eCouncilini. Bathenga amanzi. Lena ngapha liyabavalela so bakhala ukuthi asisakwazi ukuthi khona ngapha siyatsha naliyabuya nefuel iphinde lithenge. Bakhala izakhamuzi ukuthi so njalo sithi last month lithengisele 1 la yeke ukulungisa up to namhlanje so wonke awasekho. So lithi abantu baphephile bakhala so dolobho ukuthi sicela lisitshele ukuthi khona nanku silethi imali yathi sizithethe sizoyilethe eCouncilini iyo siyithethe sayithenga amanzi ngoba kade as I speak ithi i-10,000 liters wayithenge nge-50 years for izinto ezingu-5 ukuthi ngakhathesi $10 le ngabe ehambise eCouncilini khathesi usubalandelele futhi phezu kokuthi bathenga amanzi uthi alisabhadali wahamba wabavalela amanzi. Angisawazi ukuthi kumbe sesizama ukuthi sivukele yini ku-City Council. Omunye njengisile khathesi ukuthi ibhili ngivalele $30 pho ole $1,000 uzowenziwa uzothathela indlu phelani. So siyacela khona phana ukuthi khona nxa siku-situation enje sicela lathi libona ukuthi izakhamizi dani liyadedela ukuthi ehlisi lingathi ngapha liyabahlasela ngapha silamanzi lina liyagijima ngezipanela futhi kungani thina silalembeza ebantwini. Siyacela khona phana ukuthi at least lathi lisitshelele kumbe i-management ngathi ukuthi at least asidedeleni izakhamizi amanzi nxa ekhona abantu bababhadala siyazi kodwa khathesi nxa kungela amanzi asibe ndozwethu. Ngiyabonga.
Any others on 3? Exhausted 3.
Thank you, Your Worship. My contribution is on water augmentation, but I also dovetail that with water conservation. Your Worship, I wanted to find out to what extent we are maximizing and optimizing recycled water, especially for industrial purposes, so that we've got enough water for domestic consumption. I think sometime last year we did commission a study on Kami Dam. So my first contribution would be if you can optimize utilization of recycled water, because globally that is a norm. I mean, Windhoek, Namibia is an example. They've been doing that for the past past 50 or so years. And then my second contribution is on if the department can onboard the research and development in terms of innovation and emerging technologies to make the city water resilient and water secure. I'm encouraging the committee to onboard research and development, be it with in partnership with our institutions of higher learning such as NAST. For example, we're sitting on our 3-4 aquifers, Matobo, Machamtope, Kanuni. What sort of technologies can we tap into using the craft competence or of institutions of higher learning? And what sort of technologies can you tap into, especially for the short to medium term? I think long term, we've got Paishangani, we've got Popoma Dam. But short, medium term, how do we tap into the underground water we have using emerging technologies and innovations, and in partnerships with institutions that have the craft competence and intellectual capital to actually help us in that trajectory of becoming a water secure city. Thank you.
What item?
Item 5. Your Worship, I rise on the same item. The discussion that we always have in these chambers have always been about these challenges that we face week in, week out, month in, month out. But maybe as a city, we need to look into the global trends on how the city itself, especially when it comes to water issues, how the city itself opens up new economies of scope. Because I realize that as a city, we are still trying to harness revenue, which is the thrust in all these discussions that we are having, be it in the engineering, be it health. The thrust is on the finances. We need to be coming here now and saying we have Popoma, yes, it's being funded elsewhere. We have these aquifers, as been alluded to by my fellow councillor. But I think we need to shift our thinking now into how do we begin to have new economies of scope to harness new revenue streams that could assist us. Because evidently, due to our economic environment in the country, the vacillating economy because of the US dollar, the surrogate currency that we've consistently used from bond to ZIG to whatever names, it's impacting badly on how our economy functions as a whole, and therefore we need to look into how best we can harness or open up new revenue streams. Waiting for collections from the residents who 90% of them have been kicked out of employment and are in informal employment, where we are not even able to tax or get them to pay something towards city council. Is asking for too much from the city. Let's try and get a structured way or a new way of doing things that could at least assist us to create this revenue. Your Worship, depending on the aging population, to continue to pay rates and collect revenue from their poor earnings is not so smart for a city that is pushing the transformation agenda. The youth in this country who are supposed to be taking over and paying rentals and rates to the city council are all unemployed, where they are trying to scrounge for money because the places are not legalized. We are chasing them every day, everywhere. And leaving no base where we are collecting revenue, Your Worship. Let's think along those lines and sit around as the Department of Finance, as the policymakers, to say how best can we create new revenue streams that will speak to the new economic scope. Most of the the projects that are failing, not only in Zimbabwe, throughout the world, especially in Africa, it's because of poor funding. And many a time, cities rely on rates collections to fund certain projects. And the economy is sneezing, the whole of the global south. So the snowballing impact of the sneezing economy throughout the southern region and global south is that Zimbabwe is also not exempted from that. And we need to begin to think aloud. What can we do as a city? Are we ensuring that we are on the track as we talk transformation? How best can we come up with means within which we can create new revenue so that at least we can serve our residents? At least we can make money without necessarily closing taps. As we talk towards the government talks towards privatization, how are we going to continue to raise money? Since privatization will take about 40% of the water, of the money that is being bought by water into the city. We need to begin to think along those lines and broaden our scope. Thank you.
Councillor Ndlovu's plea for a revision of the watershedding program, if I understood you correctly. As we know, our dams, I think, at present are sitting at perhaps 48, 49%. They are not substantially higher than they were this time last year. They are higher, but not substantially higher. And so whilst I'm sure we all sympathize and we are all affected by watershedding in different degrees, we have to be very cautious as a council in revising the watershedding program. It's very clear to me, at least, that we can't abandon watershedding. It may be that we can lessen it slightly, but we have to work on the worst possible scenarios. We can't be overly optimistic, for example, in what the next rainy season is going to yield. We have to take seriously the 21-month rule, which has been a part of this council's policy for decades. But your point is well taken. I'm sure that you reflect the views of many residents and councillors. And we as council with management have to have a serious discussion about that to see whether in any way it can be lessened. But let me use this opportunity once again to come back and to touch perhaps on Councillor Mhlangwa's comment about alternative sources of financing and the like. The critical thing that we need to do in the short term, if we're going to tackle watershedding, is to get additional sources of raw water. And that's where I come back to glass block Bapoma is critical that we get this done. I can report to councillors that when the town clerk and I were at State House last Monday, after the conclusion of the performance contracts awards, I managed to have a short discussion with the Minister of Finance, Honourable Ncube. And I urged him to do all in his power to sign the remaining contracts that are needed. There are 2 documents that have been prepared by one of the financial institutions that has agreed to finance the glass block project. And he was very sympathetic. I had a constructive discussion with him. But we hope that these documents will be signed. Tied into that, of course, are long outstanding projects in terms of access to existing sources of water. Our chief engineer, Mr. Ncube, knows that for over a year now, we have agreed with the government's technical committee that the pipelines from Mchabez to Umzingwani and the pipelines from Insiza be upgraded. That is in our proposals. It is agreed, and there have been undertakings that those proposals will be supported by central government. We desperately need the funding for that to be done so that that work can be done in the course of this year. The bypass, as we all know, the bypass which is required at Nchabez, close to the Mzungwani pump station, and the rehabilitation of the Nsiza pipeline are critical so that we can deliver sufficient quantities of raw water to Criterion and Tuli. And there are other things. So I'm still dealing with your point, sir. We need relief for residents, but it's not just a case of us resolving to lessen the water shedding program. It is that we do so wisely and that government works very closely with us to facilitate these projects that are going to improve the supply of raw water to the city in the short and medium term. Let me touch on the issue of Bowsers. Many councillors spoke about Bowsers. I did touch on this, if you recall, in my remarks last meeting. And Town Clerk, I know that we still haven't had our budget approved. We hope that it will be approved in the next few days. But when it is approved, it is critically important that money be spent on these repairs to Bowsers and also to compactors, things that can be fixed for minimal cost and have a huge impact on the lives of residents, so that we have adequate Bowsers to provide water. But with those comments, I yield to the chair to respond.
Thank you, Worship. The mayor has said it all. Kodwa ke sizathi ngeke ife ingaphekanga. Meaning ukuthi si-committee ye-future water item 1 ephakanyiswe nguKhansela uNtando lapha. Nasithi khona imbuzi yomnyanga ikhala isiye emakhankeni ngoba le into eliyiphakamisayo lathi kade sesilungiselela okuyilungisa. Lingananzelela ukuthi kubhodile kuma social media salibonisa lana ama-councillors ngama-pipe ethu anqamuke sesilungiselela ukuthi silungise ischedule. Ngalokho ke linanzelela ukuthi kusekule 1 kuphela esilungile, amasongo akhala emabili. Lingaba lodwa liyakhenceza. Sithembisa ukuthi siza kulungisa ngokuhamba kwesikhathi. Okwakhathesi sisalinde i-private sector esibadingile ukuthi sicela abasincedise ngoba izikhwama ziyavuza. Asilali lutho siyikomiti. Bese ngibamba umbuzo wamabhawuza ngizukubamba kodwa benzathi uphenduliwe nge-engineering mostly, okunye ngokwe-finance. Ngalesikhathi bengizalibalela wonke amabhawuza ayi-7 ukuthi afele. Ngilinike le fleet nami. Kodwa ke isikhathi kasikho. I-secretary yaziyo e-procurement le budget yethu esingelayo. Ma-councillors asontwe njalo. Umbuzo wama-rates abantu abathenga amanzi. Lwana ngowe-finance kodwa ke we are hoping ukuthi that $10 aseyebuyithelela namhlanje ngade beletha kuyi-$1 ekhansilini ngasifikanga ku-stage sokuthi sibuye lama-notice yokuvala amanzi. Asibakhuthazenini izakhamizi khonokho kuncane abakutholayo. Asitsho ukuthi balethe yonke kodwa khonokho kuncane babuye bezophosela ukwenzela ukuthi la amapipe esikhuluma ngawo siyenelise phela ukwalungisa. Yikho sesihamba komakhelwane ukuthi siyecela basincedise ukulungisa amapipe ngoba ngikhaya siyehluleka ukuzifulelela indlu esiyitshisileyo thina. Item 5 noted, i-committee iza kukhangela. Ngiyabonga Worship.
Can we move the report? Yeah. Let's move to item 3 with the Chair of Health, Housing and Education. Please move your report.
Your Worship, I move that the report of the Health and Education Committee meeting
held on the 11th of March 2025 is submitted, be received, and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Can I have a second? Thank you. Any debate? What item? Okay. Carry on. You have the floor.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi. Umutla wokuqala Nkosi uzananzelela lendlu ehloniphekileyo ukuthi mhla zimachuni lantathu kuMbinditho inhlanganiso yamazwe eminyene uhlelo lwezemvelo igubhe esiyithi International Day of Zero Waste lapho kugqugquzelwa khona ukuba indawo lapho abantu abahlala khona ibe indawo ehlanzekileyo njalo le ndlela abantu abaphila ngayo ibe lokuhlanzeka. Ngiyacela ukuthi mphakamise ukubonga kakhulu kukomiti leli lokulitshayela ihlombe ngemizamo eliyenzayo ukuthi idolobho lethu lihlanzeke. Sinanzela kakhulu Nkosi uhlelo lokuhlanza idolobho ebusuku. Sibona obaba labomama abasebenza umnyango lo bebhizi ngamabhimu besiyawalahle ebusuku. Eyikho sikukhangeleleyo ukuthi sisiya phambili aluba ivini lalabo abathanyela imigwaqo yethu basebenze ebusuku. Uma zichaya isikhombisa ekuseni idolobho selihlanzekile. Siyakwazi kunenge kumele kwenzeke kodwa ngalokho siyabachayela ihlombe ngohlelo lokuhlanza idolobho ebusuku. Kodwa siselapho Nkosi kule ndaba engethusayo kakhulu indaba eRichmond landfill site. Nkosi izulu selimile ukuna. Ingozi mine ibicithwa lizulu ngesikhathi sonke lesi. Khathesi izulu selimile and siyakwazi ukuthi abantu abahlala eCountry Park laseRichmond sebezabuyela kudubulo lwalo lwentuthu. Inyakenye ngenyanga kaZibandlela satshelwa ikomiti leli ukuthi kule mizamo eyenziwayo kudingwa ukuthi kwenziwe ukuprocesswa kwama expression of interest yabantu abafuna ukusebenza engozi mine. Up to khathesi more than 14 months down the line inyanga sezichaye 14 akulalutho solenzakele. Sengathi ikomiti ingasichazela kabazi njengama councillors labahlali bokubulawayo basinike ama timelines ukuthi kahle kahle i-expression of interest leyo evaluated surely they cannot take forever. It must come to an end awardwe umuntu ozarana ingozi mine. Abantu beCountry Park labeRichmond le ndawo ezigombolozileyo laphana banjani bathole ukuphumula. So what I'm asking for this evening your worship ukuthi ikomiti lisinika ama timelines ngoba kathesi ukusebenzela eminyameni uze kuthiwa sa-evaluator mbona ngathi akusebenzeli njengabantu bakobulawayo and residents are growing impatient. If you check your timeline your worship izakhamuzi ziyakurosta ngendaba yengozi mine. And what more of mina engihlala phakathi kwenziki yengozi mine. So ikomiti sicela lisichazele on ukuthi sokuyenziweni kuyenziwani kuyaphela nini who is going to take over ngoba you can't surely wait forever. Ithemu le inkosi sesiku 3rd year in our term sele minyaka emibili or emibili le half kuphela. And if we are going to get out of this council singasolva ingozi indaba yengozi mine siyabe singayenzanga lutho. Ngiyabonga Nkosi.
Item 1.
Item 2.
Any other item 1s?
Item 4.
Item 2.
Thank you also. I would like to congratulate councillors for the cleanups that they've been doing, mostly in their wards. But I'm actually worried with the rate of waste disposal in these residential flats in town. Because we do cleanups every now and then, but after the cleanups are done, the same things happen again. So I get worried. Uti, I will just hear ukuthi besibaklinela bengcolise sikline bengcolise. What are we doing about ama owners owner these residential flats where there is so much waste disposal behind their residential flats? Thank you also.
Any others on 2? Item 3?
Thank you, Your Worship. I rise to applaud and appreciate the efforts of the Health Inspectorate. If you remember, I think it was in December, concern was raised by councillors over the seeming inertia in terms of food outlets that were unlicensed and so forth and so on. But this month's report indicates that the department has been working very hard. So just to appreciate the department for the good work, and also to maybe in future reports, if you can have a comparison between figures for the last month and the current month, so that in our oversight, we can figure out whether there's been an improvement, because figures don't lie. But for me, I'd like to appreciate the work of the committee and the department.
What item?
Item 4.
Any? Sorry?
Item 4.
14. Item 4.
I want to speak to the good work that the department is doing, even against a difficult background. It's not all gloomy and misery. The department is doing wonderful work. You notice that if you go around Bulawayo, you find that the environs of Bulawayo, because of the rains that we received, there is grass that has grown to maybe up to 2-3 meters tall. It was very difficult to clear. If you look at what the community groups have experienced, they're very slow this time around because of the height of the weeds and the bushes. But there is this inconvenience of the nuisance mosquitoes and the rodents. The department is doing wonderful work. I observed as I walked around my ward that there is a lot of larvicidity of the stream banks. You know, there are so many ponds as a result of the sewer outflows that are there. And as a result, you then get a lot of mosquitoes breeding. And they're doing a wonderful job, because not only are they a nuisance, the mosquitoes and the rodents, but they can be organisms that can transmit diseases. So I just want to commend them to keep up the good work.
Thank you. We're on 4. Anyone? What's that? 9. Anyone below 9, between 4 and 9?
5.
5. You have the floor, madam.
Thank you, Worship. My fellow councillors have congratulated the department, but I feel like there was a time in our previous 4 councils where we spoke about the health facilities of the cemeteries. So I was hoping that in these reports, if they can tell us how they have improved our health facilities in these cemeteries, then I would be glad.
Item 9. You have the floor.
Siyabonga Nkosi, ngithanda ukushayela umnyango ihlombe ngokunikeza ama-community health workers ontshikilizane bokuchova benika umphakathi umtholampilo. Kuyatshengisa ukuthi umnyango uyakwanisa ukusurvive nalowo baba lo okuthiwa uTrump withdraw funding, kodwa koBulawayo ontshikilizane bayabathola ama-community health workers. Siyabonga kakhulu. Kodwa siseselapho Nkosi, ubungozi obukhona ngokuthi omama labo baba laba okuthiwa ngama-community health workers siyakwazi ukuthi umsebenzi wokuzinikela, kodwa umsebenzi wokuzinikela kwesinye isikhathi kuqakathekile ukuthi banikwe into yokukhuthaza. Okwakhathesi sizwa kuthiwa banikwa imbijana kanye kumbe kane ngomnyaka, 4 times a year, once a quarter. Kwesinye isikhathi kuyaphuza okuyizidwa kwakhona kuze kubuye umnyaka sophela. owami umbuzo ngokuthi ikomiti kakula-ke engakulungisa yokuncedisa labo mama labo baba abancedisayo emphakathini ezigabeni zethu ukuthi kube lokukhona okungabenza bahlale bekhuthazekile ukwenza lezi umsebenzi wabo ngokuziqhenya lobuqotho. Kale sidlula kuprogram polio vaccination, labo mama bayenze umsebenzi omkhulu, badlale iqhaza elikhulu kakhulu. Kodwa uma sizwa kuthiwa bathola $13 ngekota ebuya engxenye yokuphela komnyaka, bona ngani kuyasiyangisa njengekhansili yako Bulawayo. Sengathi kungadingwa something kubudget eyokuba motivator baqhubeke bevuke ezindlini zabo besebenza lo msebenzi. Asazi ukukomiti kodwa is an observation. Ngiyabonga Nkosi.
Right, we've had 9, 11. Anyone below 11? No, you have the floor, Councillor.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Mine is item 11. I would like to appreciate Regent Laboratories for donating the larviciding chemicals. At times you get donations and fail to appreciate. Even the Bible states that when Jesus had healed 5 people, 10 people lepers, only 5 came back to thank him. So we need to appreciate these donors so that they feel that we are grateful, and then maybe going forward they can bring more donations or other people who appreciate that the city of Bulawayo appreciate donations.
Thank you. We've dealt with 11, 14. Anyone before 14? No?
Thank you, Your Worship. Wami umbuzo ukuthi why start eside to resolve issue of allocation kugarika ihlalani kuhle. Why thatha isikhathi eside kungaresolvanga masinyane? Yabo.
Any other debate?
Item 22.
You've got the floor, sir.
Thank you, Worship. I read the report and discovered that one of Bulawayo's leading informal trader organizations called BVTA has actually partnered up with the City Council to train and install solar, to train train students on solar maintenance and installation. I believe that this dovetails very well with our sustainable development agenda as a city, and looking at the need to solarize our street lights, to solarize our tower lights, and also to create alternative sources of energy. This is the same organization that has also partnered up with City Council to come up with the Ngulumane fresh farm vegetable market. I want to commend this organization called Bulawayo Vendors and Traders Association, because one, it also creates employment for the youth, and also there is the aspect of public safety, because when we have our streets lit up, when we have our tower lights all lit up, because of we know the challenges with ZESA, but then when we resort to clean sources of energy, clean energy, you know, we are going to have public safety, because we are going to have lights all over. I just want to appreciate Bulawayo Vendors and Traders Association for a job well done in this partnership with City Council. May it continue to grow from strength to strength.
Thank you. Any other debate? Just before I hand to the chair, I just want to make a couple of comments, particularly regarding what Councillor Mabeza had to say regarding item 2 and the problem that you can do all these cleanups, but if people keep on littering. And I think we need to think out of the box in the city. And I just want to leave us with a couple of thoughts in that regard. The first is the absence of bins throughout the city. We do have rubbish bins, but we need to focus on a massive increase in the number of bins that we have throughout the city. And once again, Town Clerk, this should be low-hanging fruit. There are many businesses in our city who have the capacity to build basic bins. To go back to the meeting at State House last Monday, another person I was tackled in the course of the meeting was Minister Mutswangwa. And he spoke about the new iron ore being generated at the Dunson mine in Mvuma. And he challenged me. He said, what are you doing as a city to get businesses to buy from Dunson? Because he was saying that most of the exports are going to South Africa, and that actually there's very little of that product coming to Bulawayo. And it prompted me to think that we should be encouraging local businesses, and they don't have to even be formal businesses. There are many informal businesses, young men out there with basics, young men and women out there with basic skills who can build, design these bins. They shouldn't cost us a lot of money. If you look at the cost of these refuse removal vehicles, $150,000 each. If we spent, I don't know, $10,000, $15,000, how many bins could we generate and create employment and get them distributed throughout our city? So we've got to think out the box. The other thought in that regard is our biggest problem is plastic. Now, obviously, we are subject to national standards and the like, but there are countries such as Rwanda and elsewhere that have banned plastic. And is it not the time that we as a city start looking at our policies to perhaps ban plastic products, or to put a penalty on those who generate plastic, which should come into our coffers to help with our cleanup programs? Because there's no doubt in my mind that if we eradicated plastic bags, plastic bottles, these single-use plastics, we would have a huge impact on our rubbish collection. So to the chair, these are just some thoughts that we need to be revisiting our bylaws to see whether we can't make this city ideally plastic free. And then to finance and the town clerk, please, can we think out the box and get a lot more bins manufactured in the city, ideally by the informal sector, and distributed throughout the city so that people have got a place to put their plastic. It strikes me, there are many residents who do want to keep the city clean, but they've got nowhere to put their refuse. And we need to assist them. But Chair, would you respond?
Thank you for all the comments which have been raised. They are very constructive. We read all the concerns, especially about Ngozimane. We have been talking about it several times. Timelines of expression of interest, the deadline is next week, Councillor. So I think it shows that we are still looking on it. It's not shelved under the table. We do have the same concern as a committee and as the Department of Health. Since we want to adhere to our mission, that we want to be a smart, transformative city by 2025. So everything has been noted and taken into consideration. Then there's the issue of stains, Garikai allocation. We can only solve that problem if they are readily available stains. That's when we can maybe remove someone to another stand. But for now, there are no stands we don't have any stands which are available in Cultural Park. So we are going to keep looking at the issue. Then also there was, I think, sustainable measures of cleaning our city. I can encourage all the residents, let's try to retain our city status, being the first class city, as the city of kings and queens. And also I invite them to join us on every first Friday of the month to clean the city, so that we all keep our city clean. Let's inculcate a sense of belonging, a sense of ownership. It's our duty, it's a duty of all of us as councillors, it's a duty of all the residents who reside in the city of Bulawayo. For all the issues and concerns raised, I would like to say to my fellow councillors, as a committee, we are always open for advice. We are always open for critics, for constructive criticism. All the innovative ideas which you have brought here, throughout the month we are open. Approach us and give us those innovative ideas, so that maybe this fora will be looking at other interventions at a higher level, coming if possible, going to the issue of reviewing our policies and bylaws, or updating our updated bylaws. So my fellow dear councillors, if we have got issues, if we are seeing any gaps, let us not wait for the council, but engage with the department, engage with the committee. We are open. Thank you.
With the Chair of Townlands, item 4 on the agenda.
Let's move the report first.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Yes.
You're absolutely right, Deputy
Yeah.
Mayor. Can we move that report? Thank
Move.
you. Item 4, report of Townlands and Planning. Please move.
I move that the report of the Townlands and Planning Committee meeting held on the 18th of March as submitted be received, and the various recommendations contained therein.
Thank you. Can we have a seconder? Thank you. Any debate? What item?
21.
Item 1?
21.
21. Anything before 21? As we speak now or forever hold your peace. No one before 21. Okay, Councillor, you have the floor.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi. Item 21 ukhuluma ngesikolo esakhiwayo. Kodwa ke with all due respect, Chairman we committee, ngicela i-item le ibuyele committee yakho siye kulungisa sengikhaya. Ngiyabonga. Item
20?
21.
Yeah. Anyone on 21? 25. Councillor, you have the floor.
Thank you, councillors. On item 25, the government announced the removal of vendors in the streets, particularly at night. Bekubuza committee ukuthi sebenze njengezambane ukuthi implementation le yenzakala njengoba sesaphiwa i-green light.
Item 25. Thank you so much. Maybe it's just a follow-up question, like what is submitted by my council, to say what mechanisms or initiatives are we initiating as a council to ensure that we provide safe space, quality space, free space, health space for our vendors in Bulawayo before we think of removing them from the streets. Because I think
the government was very clear that it is upon us to make sure that we provide such spaces. It would be unjust for us to destroy the backbone of the economy of Bulawayo. In that nature, they just remove them from the street without coming up with alternatives on where we will place them. We are hoping that this committee will look towards the decentralization mechanism on ensuring that each and every location is at least a market center for those people to be then allocated, well equipped and clean. But now, if we are only focusing on the CBD and on the agenda of removing them from the street, it's like we're announcing war against our citizens. A responsible parent, before he comes up with an initiative, he creates an alternative to say, we are going to do this before we initiate this policy. So the government was clear to say, this council must provide spaces for the vendors. So before even we think of harassing them from the street, because we all know that they provide largely in the local economy of this city. Bulawayo is now run by informal sector. It's a fact, if not Zimbabwe at large, not considering, of course, some who are not, of course, from the city. But on principle, Bulawayo is being run by the informal sector. So this committee must come up with a clear infrastructure, structure, and methods to ensure that they have a decentralization mechanism of creating e-markets from the places where we are coming from. To make sure that when you are removing these vendors from a town, they have quality spaces where they are going to occupy to the places where we are coming from. Actually, this is where we are supposed, because we cannot be thinking about quality economic infrastructure if we are not thinking about empowering locals at a local level. Let's create our CBDs at the wards where we are coming from, whereby no one would desire to get into town to go buy veggies and etc. Let's come up with mechanisms. If we don't have the capacity as the council, the policies allows us to engage on partnerships with people who are able to assist us to make sure that we develop those e-markets in our respective places so that we can allocate our vendors places to trade. Thank you.
Any other debate?
I'm the member of the committee, if there's no further debate.
I'll just make a quick comment, then I'll hand to you. I just want to respond to Councillor Moyo, just to report to you and the councillors who weren't able to make the meeting, but we had a very effective meeting with the consultant earlier on this week on micro, small and medium enterprises. And I believe that that is going to provide the platform for a comprehensive policy in this regard. But your point is, both your points are well taken. We have to achieve a balance between restoring law and order in the city, but also in providing attractive alternatives for vendors and their customers so that people are treated humanely. And it's a very fine balance that we have to achieve. But your points are well taken. Thank you, councillors. But the Deputy Mayor wants to.
Thank you, Worship. I'm the member of the Town Planning Committee. As for vendors relocation, the committee and the department have done what it is supposed to do. They have relocated the vendors, especially from those who are selling their wares in undesignated places like Fifth Avenue. Most of them were moved to Baptist and some were moved to Ekodini. It's now up to the enforcement to make sure that happens. It's not up to the department now to do the enforcement. So with the due respect, the department have done what it was supposed to do. And with regards to e-markets, last month or so, we had a presentation in this very room where we had those who represent vendors and officers from the town planning. We explained about the e-markets, which is
happenings. Unfortunately, some of us as councillors, we do not attend these presentations and we miss a lot. And we come to this August house and ask questions which were answered during the presentations. So I'm requesting that as councillors, if ever we are called for any presentation, we make sure we avail ourselves so that we won't ask questions which were clearly explained to us. What Councillor Moyo asked was responded to and is work in progress. I thank you.
Thank you. Would you respond?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and thanks, DM, for assisting me as a member of this committee. Maybe I'll start with the Councillor about the withdrawal of item 21. I would request that I get some elucidation on the item as to reasons why we should withdraw that item, given that it's a recommendation and we probably need more. And I would also need guidance from the Director of Town Planning. I'm not privy of the procedure on how to handle such instances. And then on the issue, DM has covered the issue that Moyo raised on the issue of the vendors fully. I don't think it needs further explanation. Thank you, Your Worship.
The issue on item 21 was proposed, but there was no seconder for that. There's a seconder.
Yes, I was taking the proposal by Councillor Kate. Maybe we can discuss this with Council in the committee.
Yeah.
I think it's very important to Councillor Kazi Okulmanga. And I don't think singayenza justice umuntu lo phakathi kwendle ekhangele umhlaba wo ukhona kwaziyo afuna ukusichazela khona.
Okay, so
thank you very much.
So what is proposed is that item 21 be deferred to in committee and that we move the balance of the report. Is that in order?
Yes.
Thank you. Chair of Environment and Engineering, would you move?
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the report of the Environmental Management and Engineering Service Committee, meeting held on the 24th of March 2025, is submitted, be received, and various recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Do we have a seconder? Thank you. Any debate? What item? Item 1. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Your Worship. Today I'm engraved with the spirit of thanking those that are donating to us. I'd like to appreciate Operation Foreign for donating 2 more fire tenders to the city of Bulawayo. In total, up to date, they have now donated 21 fire tenders. As the finance, it gives us relief that we then concentrate on other projects. Today we're commissioning the refuse compactors. It's such donations that don't put pressure on other services that we are supposed to provide for the city and be able then to put our finances in other areas. So I want to thank them, and I would like to propose that since we are having a day of prayer that is coming, we should also pray for those that are donating to us, so that they keep on donating to us and their business is nourished. Thank you.
We're still on item 1.
Item 2.
Item 2. Anyone else on item 1? No. Item 2. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi. Ku item 2 ngiyananzelela ukuthi committee le iyazama ukuvala ama-best akhona phakathi komuzi, kodwa ke ngilombuzo wami omileyo olokhe wama mhlazana sifika lapha singama-councillors ukuthi ipipe liyana ekudiskwe eNtumbane ekade yampompoza amanzi imini lesile zasebusuku. Leyi ikomiti ithi zayilungisa nini kumbe bathi sihle sibiye kube ngumthombo? Ngikhuluma ngoba isidale ingxabano enkulu phakathi kwesigaba sesisebenza nzima ukuyalamula amanzi lana laphana. Kodwa ke khayelela ukuthi ngabe besebenzila abekomiti leyi bavala laphana wonke umuntu wathola amanzi la kumele wathole khona. Kungehlisa ulaka oluphakathi kwezakhamizi. Ngiyabonga.
Any further debate? No further debate. Chair, would you like to respond?
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Well, I have nothing much to say, but just to say I've noted what my fellow councillor said. Thank you.
Can we move the report? Move. And now we get correctly to general purposes. I move that the report of the General Purposes Committee meeting held on the 24th of March 2025 as submitted be received and the various recommendations contained be adopted. Do we have a seconder for that?
Yes.
Thank you. Any debate?
Move the report.
There's debate. What item comes? 24. You have the floor. If no one prior to 24? No? You've got the floor.
Thank you so much. Item 24, I think it speaks on governance issues. Firstly, it is my belief and my understanding that this committee is an executive committee of this council. Its responsibility is beyond approving trips and the statistics coming from the management, but they have a critical responsibility which is embedded around issues of efficiency and effectiveness of this council in terms of one, implementation of resolutions that are being done by this council, in terms of effectiveness of the job that is supposed to do by our employees. It is rested upon this committee. I am 18 months plus years, months old in this country. We have never received a clear strategic evaluation report from this council in terms of the efficiency and effectiveness of our employees. The reason why I'm saying so, I think we cannot sit here and lie to ourselves that this council, the city of Bulawayo, is performing very well. It is still the city of kings and queens. I'm not saying this to say there's someone who is wrong, but a normal institution, it must have mechanisms to evaluate and oversee that where are we lacking and where are we missing it as a council. If your worship, I'm speaking specifically to you and the deputy mayor. If you are seated there and you are looking at the progress that has been made by the city of Bulawayo for the past year in terms of development and progress and correcting the wrongs that have been done to the past, you can't speak of development. You are still on the repairing mode. You are not in a position to be proud of what is happening. We know that this city has much to do, has a potential to be better. But we cannot be here. We understand that there's a procurement act that is affecting the operations of this city. And some certain laws in the Urban Council Act that also limit us in terms of effectiveness as a council. It's different from when we have executive mayors. We understand that. But there's no difference between the city of Bulawayo and the city of Dar in terms of the laws that are being applied. The same procurement act is applying in Dar, in Masvingo, in Noto, and in Rua, in every city and town that is here in this country. But look at the progress that you've made since 2023 when you were elected up to now. Your worship and deputy mayor, you don't have any building that you can claim as this council that you have built in Bulawayo. You don't have anything that you can actually say, no, this is what we have done as the city. I know some agendas that we have and some things that we have on target, they are long-term based. and they are affected by so many things. But these laws that are being applied nationally, they don't only affect Bulawayo. What's happening? These are the reports that we expect from this committee to interrogate whether is there efficiency and effectiveness, competence, or sabotage in our employees. You cannot run a law firm, your worship, or your company, deputy mayor, 2 years down the line with no profits, no results, and you relax. As a manager, you actually interrogate, where are we? You can actually fire people. You say, no, I'm firing the whole structure. I'm employing new people because the same company is operating in Kweku, but is succeeding very well. The same company is in Mtare, where we have one finance minister, we have one government, but it's operating very well. What's wrong with Bulawayo? So these are the reports which we are expecting from the General Purpose Committee to clearly oversee the operations and effectiveness of this council. Because we cannot keep our employees if they are not delivering. It's a company for the people, and we stand for the people. I don't think, your worship, you still have the courage to still stand before the people and say, no, it's procurement, no, we don't have money because water, etc. You never have that courage. So I think if we are to be honest as a city, this committee must next time bring us reports interrogating, because it's your duty, you are an executive committee, oversee the operations of these people. And let's see where we are getting it wrong as a council. That was the first time. I'm speaking this in principle. We need to be checking where we are failing as a city. We don't want, as young as we are, to be accountable of the wrongs that we don't have capacity to answer. Then the other item, your worship, and the deputy mayor, is on the issue of representation of council committees, chairpersons. It might not be a favorable insight, but at least we speak truth when we have the capacity to do so. I don't think in your capacity you have a right to claim that you want a democratic community, a fair community, if yourselves you cannot channel that in your council that you are managing. The General Purpose Committee cannot sit there and conclude to say in the next 5 years people won't rotate committees. I don't think it's wise or it's intellectually correct. The purposes of committees are not to safeguard interest. They are there to safeguard the interests of the people. They are there to bring efficiency and effectiveness in the city of Bulawayo. People, when they got into these committees, 23 August 2023, some of them, they were joining because probably Batira said join, or Masha said join this, but they were not yet able to identify their abilities. Bulawayo cannot be different from other cities. Let's practice skill, let's accommodate skill, let's accommodate competence in each and every committee. We cannot be a society which preach equality, democracy, and fairness, where ourselves we cannot practice that. What type of a local government are we? We can't lie to the people of Bulawayo. We are not saying the committees that are there, they are not effective enough. But let's try new people. This is the reason why we have elections every 5 years. That's the reason why we change deputy mayor, mayor, and councillors every 5 years to try new ideas so that we see where we get as a country. It is my plea to you, your worship, and the deputy mayor, reconsider the motion that was submitted in this council. Reshuffle the committees without fear or any sense of ambiguity, so that this council can move with oneness, with the fairness, with equality, with justice and democracy that we all desire. It's an unfavorable submission, but we will say it because we want efficiency in this. Thank you so much.
Item 0. Item 0.
It's item 24F1 and item 24F22. All read there.
Gender issues.
To the last comment. Please, can we have one meeting? We will move the report once I've responded. What you say, Councillor, is correct regarding your first point. It is important that we always evaluate ourselves and be honest about our progress or lack of it. Speaking for myself, I share the frustrations that many feel. I feel as if we have not achieved many of the things that we set out to achieve. And so personally, I'm sure I speak for the Deputy Mayor as well, we do need a robust, direct debate, but it's a collective exercise where we work together to try and improve our performance, and we understand what is causing us to fail in terms of achieving our objectives. Regarding the second point you made, we have to work within the environment we find ourselves in. I'm not clear what you were promoting when you were advocating, when you said that the committee should be changed. I am a ceremonial mayor. The deputy mayor is a ceremonial deputy mayor. As you know, in terms of the Urban Councils Act, we're not like presidents. We can't pick and choose our cabinet. We are subject to the Urban Councils Act, which limit our powers greatly. And we have to work within those parameters. But aside from that, if you look at best practice in many institutions, both the commercial sector and in government, people are not changed every year because it causes considerable chaos within organizations. Clearly, if people are not performing, one must have the ability to change people so that you remove deadwood and people who are, as I say, not performing. But to have wholesale changes every year is not best international practice. But there needs to be a balance. So what I'm doing in responding to your points is to say that your points are valid. This is a debate that we have to have collectively as a council. But it's not as clear-cut and as easy as you propose. But with those comments, I ask, can we move the report? Thank you. Now, where are we?
I mean that the report of the Finance and Development Committee meeting must 2025 is submitted, received, and the various recommendations contained therefore be adopted.
Move.
Noticeably, the councillors is at T, 1 April to 4 April 2025.
Mental health break, 21 to 30 April.
Any other notices? Our meeting is concluded.